Hey, greetings good people and welcome to a new video. This time around, this one is not going to be a MOSHBITS episode, so that's why you're also seeing my face, so don't click away just yet because Big Navi, believe it or not, is finally here, and I've already done a live reaction video, so if you want to watch that, I'll have links to it in the video description. That's obviously going to be the archive video for it. And with that in mind, if you're a new viewer, a potential subscriber, then I should perhaps let you know that you're finding yourself on the right channel. Well, I happen to run a playlist where I talk quite a lot about the latest news in tech and gaming, and this one is called MOSHBITS. So if you want to see that playlist, then I'm going to have a link in the video description about that quite as well. So with that out of the gate, or actually, can we just give it up for Scott Harkelman's t-shirt, because I found it quite amazing, to be fair, for our DNA 2. Cool. Now, I think that a lot of people might actually want to buy themselves one. I, for one, am actually thinking that if they're gonna release it, then why not? And I think the big question with Big Navi that is among all of us tech enthusiasts and gamers in general, and people that just need a graphics card to be fair, is should I buy this card or wait for something else, or should I get an NVIDIA RTX card? Well, let me just answer one of the questions, which is, should you buy one of those new cards from AMD? And the short answer is like, yes, maybe. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. But if you have the money, then yeah, everything so far has been looking pretty great. So go ahead. But if you're here for the more, I wouldn't necessarily say detailed analysis and thoughts that I have on the cards, I'll just try to sum up the event, tell you some of the things that you might want to pay attention to whenever you're making a final call on whether to buy those cards. I'd also say just wait out for the reviews if you can, but if you can't wait for the reviews to come out, if you can't wait till, well, I guess you still have to wait until November 15, 17, something like that. I'll have the exact date somewhere in the description or showing over the screen right now, because some of the cards are launching mid-November. I think it's actually 15th of November, and then the big Navi card, the 6900 XT, spoilers ahead, that one's actually launching on the 8th of December or something like that. It's either way, it's in December. But so far, the community has actually received those cards quite well, and on YouTube and on Discord, where I hosted a live watch party, do check them out as well. I mean, Discord, because you're already on YouTube, thanks for that. People seem to be really pumped about those Big Navi cards that AMD has shown, and if you go and rewatch the live video that I've did, like I said, the links will be in the description. They announced 3 cards, those being the 6800, the 6800 XT, and the 6900 XT. Now, the prices for those are as follows. 579 euros, I'm just gonna round it up and say 580 for the 6800. The 6800 XT is 650, and the 6900 XT is $1,000, believe it or not. And whenever you're hearing those prices, and if you haven't been in touch with, I guess, what Nvidia pricing looks like, you are like, $1,000 for a graphics card. Well, yes and no. I mean, it sure is expensive. I'm not saying by any chance that this is cheap. But also, when you're thinking about what Nvidia is offering with the 3090, that's $1,500 that you have to spend for that. But let's just look at them and what it means in terms of performance. Now, I actually like what AMD has done with this series of GPUs, aside from the 6800, to be fair, and I don't mean with the graphics card, but rather with the name for it. Because the 6800 should be basically, or should I say the RX 6800, because there have been cards in the past that had those names, including from Nvidia, so it's really weird. I think SEO is going to be really important whenever you're gonna have to find information for those new cards. But alas, what I'm trying to say is that the 6800 should be pretty much a beefed up 3070. The 6800 XT should be a 3080. Also in some cases beefed up, and I'm going to get to that as well. And the 6900 XT should technically, and like I said again, should be a beefed up 3090 from Nvidia. And I make all those claims and say those things just because of the benchmarks that they've shown, but you have to keep in mind that those are their benchmarks. Companies are trying to always show the best case scenario, I would say, and something that perhaps you should have paid attention if you did watch the live stream is their footnotes, where they had rage mode mentioned and smart memory access or smart access memory. I can't remember exactly, but I will get down to that. Now, what I wanted to say is that they've also made it so that every information that has been leaked so far and what we've gotten, if you watched my previous videos on AMD that I have done on my channel, then you pretty much know everything that there is to know about those cards. The Infinity Cache has also been confirmed during this event, and what that means is basically, how should I put it into a easy mode explainer, so to speak. They're improving the, think of, because that's also what I was saying during the live stream. Think about the Infinity Fabric on Ryzen, and then export it to the RX series, more or less, I should say. The thing is, they're improving performance per watt, so they're improving the efficiency also on the entire architecture, and I'm gonna get to that as well, which makes it super interesting because despite having this extra performance, they're not drawing that much power as we expected. In fact, it's also not the 220 watts that we're actually expecting for the lower end SKUs. But also they're having 300 watts on both the 6800 XT and the 6900 XT, which is impressive, especially when you think that the 3090, as far as I remember, draws up to 350 watts. And it's not only that it draws 350, it could have been 320 as well. The problem is that it has those massive spikes in I try not to make that big noise, but so the big spikes in power draw that it has makes it so that if you have a PSU that's not that great, which it surely can happen, especially if you have an older power supply, if you don't have a really powerful one that's like not even 650 watts or like 80 plus gold, then you might have some issues with the 3090, as you can actually also see in some of Linus's videos, and I think Steve from Gamers Nexus talked about that as well. But getting back to this, like this one is 300 watts across the line, and by line I know I mean the 6800 XT and the 6900 XT. And with the 6800, something that I've noticed is that it's actually 30 watts more than the 3070. But with that in mind, you also have to, well, look at the thing that is maybe important to some of you, is that you're getting 16 gigabytes of VRAM on across the board, basically, because I think that's the best way to put it. Whereas with the RTX 3070, you're only getting 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So for people that want to run high resolutions, I say above 1440p basically. So for people that want to run 4K or more, people that want to play demanding VR titles that are presumably coming in the future, or if you want to play, like I said, VR titles at 4K, 8K, whatever resolution, then that's when that's higher memory bandwidth comes into play, basically. So you have 16 gigs in this case. It might be good, but we don't know. It's double the thing, and that's also something that I've noticed on my YouTube comment section and also on Discord after talking to the people. Everyone's like, dude, but this has 16 gigs of VRAM, and I'm like, yeah, sure, it might actually be something important. We don't actually know. We're gonna have to wait for the reviews. But if this is something that you are genuinely interested in having on your graphics card, and it's GDDR6 memory, it's not GDDR6X, which is something that I don't want to say NVIDIA created it, but I just said that I just mean it in the sense that they put it on the 3080 and 3090, those being also their GA102 chips and not on their GA104 chips, which is the RTX 3070, yada, yada, yada. So it's truly impressive. And also looking at how RDNA 1 has improved, RDNA 2 has improved from RDNA 1. This is their architecture for their GPUs, and RDNA 2 is what they're using for Big Navi in this case. It has been pretty much aging like fine wine. I think this is the best way that I can put it into words, and this is also something we've seen happening with Ryzen. Like Zen 3, the leaked benchmarks that we've seen so far, it blows Intel out of the water. There is no give or take in that case. And yes, if we are going to get some reviews where we see that that even the 5600X is more powerful than the 10900K, that's just going to be mind-boggling at this at the price point that they're coming at. So yeah, I'm trying to look through my notes because I tried taking some notes during the event. So I'm now trying to also wrap my hand, my head, not my hand around it. It's been a long day. I don't actually know how long this video is going to be, but I think what I wanted to get to, aside from the new architecture that is very important, is also that these new cards from AMD also not 3 slots for the reference from the reference cards, which could be important. They're also a bit shorter than what NVIDIA has been doing, and that's also impressive because NVIDIA's cards are pretty short for this generation, or at least the PCB is, because the whole dimensions of the card are a bit bigger, especially for the Founders Edition cards, just because they crammed all this cooling basically. But AMD has made fun of them with this edition and with all the pictures that they've released, or I guess I'm not sure if they released. They probably sent it to future reviewers and whatever, but they should be popping on screen at some point. If not, they're all going to be in the video description. Now, what I was saying is that all the cards that AMD is launching right now with the RX 6000 series are going to be either 2 or 2.5 slot, which might be important if you're constrained. I'm trying to look at my case, but my case is not that small. It's not that small. It's not constrained in this case, but if you are having a mini ITX or micro ATX case in this case, or a smaller, if you can have possibly any issues with your size, you're gonna be happy with that, because it leaves some room for other PCIe slots additions. Although I can't think of that many people or as far as I've seen also on a hardware unbox video, not a lot of people use an EXA card other than their GPU. In my case, I actually had, or still have in this case, but I'm going to remove it, a PCIe a Wi-Fi card. If you need it, sure, it all depends. But now down to performance, I think it's important to note, and I want to make this very clear, it's important to note that all graphics card manufacturers, CPU manufacturers, whatever, all manufacturers, all sellers for that matter, are always going to present their products in the best light possible. And this is by no means any different with AMD, although we want to love them so much with all the improvements that they've brought up to their CPUs and what they're bringing. Well, they're actually bringing a fight to both Intel and NVIDIA in this case, and competition is always good for the consumer, don't get me wrong. But then again, let's take all of this with still a grain of salt, or a heap of salt, depending on whatever you prefer. Now, all the titles that they've presented were either a Vulkan API, well, they had the Vulkan API, so yeah, they could favor AMD, or they were AMD favorite titles. And aside from that, you also have to notice, I think I did mention that in the beginning, that they had those rage mode and smart access memory titles, I should say, or like mentions asterisk in the bottom corner, pardon me, where what's on with that, I guess might be your question. What does it mean? So rage mode is basically their soft overclocking tool that they have, and this should bring 1 to 2% extra performance. It's not a lot, so if it's not making a huge difference, or taking a lot extra juice, and by that I mean watts, or like producing a lot of heat, obviously if it takes more watts in this case, then it's all fine and dandy, I guess. But with the other thing, which is smart access memory, it's important to note that this is something that relates to Ryzen's 5000 series CPUs. And that is not something that each and every one of you is going to get. Of course, there are going to be people that are going to get their hands on those new CPUs, but not everyone. Sorry, I was just checking if I'm still recording. That's still happening. That would have been a pain to reshoot. And I think Gamers Nexus is going to do a better analysis of smart access memory and how all of this is going to work, what it means with this new Zen 3 architecture. But what I'm hoping, because AMD had a part in their video where they were showing the new Zen 3 CPUs together with their new RX 6000 cards. What I'm hoping for is that they're going to be doing some bundles, because that might still drag the price down. Because I think one important mention that I would have is that I'm going back to the 6800, which is a direct RTX 3070 competitor. In this case, they're going head to head. I think it's important to note. I'm trying to remember what I was going for. Oh yeah, because the RTX 3070, which comes out tomorrow, that would be the 29th of October, that one is going to be $499, and the RX 6800 will be $580, which again in this case is $80 more. But a lot of people, well, yeah, there was an entire conversation on Twitter, but a lot of people didn't seem too mad with AMD in this case. And I'm laughing because Too Mad is a YouTuber. Oh my, everything is happening right now in my head. Wrong, bad. Either way, it's $80, and that's, for me, someone who only has $499 to spend on a graphics card, I won't be paying for AMD's offering in this case. But assuming, I think I need to go back to the 2080 Ti, which is what they're compared it to, because the 3070 is not out yet, and I don't think they could have put the benchmarks for it out there either. But just so you know, the RTX 3070 is pretty much in an RTX 2080, just a bit better in some cases and just a bit worse in other cases. You can watch reviews for those because they're already out on YouTube, so do make sure to check those out if you're interested as well. Now, the thing is, for the extra $80, if you compare it to the 2080 Ti, the thing is that card launched MSRP, so the manufacturer's recommended price was $999, so $1,000 just to average it out. But that card, as far as I know, has not sold for $1,000, but much rather it, as far as I've seen it, even a week ago or something like that. Of course, if you're not considering eBay, where those cards are probably like $500, $600, $700 right now because people are just trying to get rid of them, they most likely, and most of the time that I've seen them on Amazon, Newegg, or any other, Best Buy if you're in the States. In this case I'm not, but still, every time I've seen them, they were like $11.99, $12.99, $13.99, depending on the manufacturer, depending on the exact specs that they had, boost clocks, whatever, you know, in this case. So we don't know if the RTX 3070 will actually stay at that $499 MSRP that Nvidia has taunted in this case. If we go by the entire stock supply issues and the entire fiasco, then I don't actually think that it's gonna stay at $499. So maybe AMD knows something that I don't, because some people might actually do know. So we'll see, and we'll have to see in this case. So if that's the case, if people that can't get their hands on the RTX 3070 in the first place and they need to wait for another batch, and then it's going to start out at $550, even in that case, then AMD's offering might be quite compelling. So I'm trying to go really quickly through my notes around here. Yeah, before I sum up my things, I still have to talk about the 6900 XT, which, like I said, is a beefed up version of the RTX 3090 in select titles, like they've said, and also they had the same mention with rage mode and smart access memory and yada yada yada. But it's important to know that this one is $1,000 compared to $1,500 as it is with the RTX 3090. So yeah, it's amazing in this case. But also do note that if you're also one of those guys that have been saying like, I want the most VRAM possible because for whatever reason I need it. Sorry, that was my phone. then in that case, sorry to tell you, but it's only got 16 gigs of memory. It's whereas the RTX 3090 has got 24 gigs. If that's something that you really value and consider, then you're gonna have a harder choice, easier choice. I don't know in this case to decide. But for me, if it were just to pick between them, I would go for the $1,000 because that's $500, and not even for the things that I like Nvidia for, I wouldn't go for that card. And as a matter of fact, I would actually go for the RTX 3080 if I wanted that performance. But there's some, you know, it's really difficult to make a choice, and I think at the end I'm gonna get into what card I'm going to pick for my next build. So I'm going to have a list of Vulkan supported titles as well in the description, because I didn't get the entire one summed up around here. But overall, it's really nice to see AMD stepping up basically and being in direct competition with Nvidia and doing everything possible to gain as much market share and bring as much competition into this not so crowded space, but very confusing at the same time. And as I said a bazillion of times, I wanted to say billion, but I know I always say a bazillion of times, do take this with a grain of salt. Considering all those things, the VRAM, pricing, availability, I sure hope that with regards to availability, AMD is going to have plenty of stock, because I'm thinking, yes, people want new graphics cards. They've been going on Reddit, Twitter, everywhere. They've been screaming for new cards. And if at least 10% of everyone who wants to buy an RTX 3070, 3080, and 3090 switches to AMD, then that might be a bit difficult for AMD to deliver. But then again, they're also delivering cards and CPUs for the new Xbox Series consoles, for the new PlayStation 5. They're doing a lot of things, also including laptops, which hopefully we're going to see a lot more of, because there haven't been quite a lot for that. So yeah, overall the launch has been pretty impressive. I don't know what else to say, other than, I think, because I'm looking through my notes right now, I mentioned the whole if people switch, availability and what. I think it's best to answer. So which card am I going to choose? Well, tomorrow I'm going to try to get my hands on the RTX 3070, and if I'm lucky, I'm gonna get one. Otherwise, some bots or some scalpers are gonna get sworn at by me, I guess. In this case, I don't know if they care. But I'm also gonna tell you why I would much rather go for the RTX 3070 right now instead of the 6800 or the 6800 XT or whatever AMD is offering. Like I said, I have only $499 to spend. I don't have more. I don't have, well, technically I have less, but you get my point. That's what I'm aiming for. I also kind of like, well, not kind of, well, I could say kind of because I haven't tried them out myself, but I like the idea of NVIDIA Broadcast and their RTX voice. I did try that on my 1070 and it's been going really nice so far. I like NVIDIA Shadowplay and what it can do. I like NVIDIA Ansel. I like every side of NVIDIA's aspect, including GeForce Experience. I like, and I've been a customer of theirs for quite a long time now, as far as I can remember. And with regards also to driver optimization, I know that AMD has been doing a bit better right now, but overall, before... yeah, I think half a year ago or something like that, they haven't been doing all that well. And I'm sure and I hope, I think the best thing is to say I hope, and then I'm sure that AMD is actually going to improve, like we've seen with Ryzen in the beginning when Ryzen launched with the first series of CPU, so the 1600, the 1700X in this case. They weren't the greatest products. They had a lot of issues, including with RAM, if you can believe it. I mean, now Ryzen is known to have overall the best RAM support, and they also don't lock it up at 2933. they're doing up to 3200 megahertz, and now with the new CPUs, they're doing up to 4000, because on the previous series 3600, that was the sweet spot for the Infinity Fabric. So it's mind-boggling how far they've managed to go in all those 2 years or whatever, 2 generations. That's for sure. And yeah, I certainly hope that AMD is going to be able to do the same with RDNA 2. And yeah, if they're gonna get more optimized titles, then it might be a thing that might make me want to switch as well. But then again, as a person who also happens to edit videos and whatnot, I care about CUDA support, which is what NVIDIA offers in this case. You always get good optimization, or overall good optimization, on NVIDIA cards. So I don't know if all the new titles that are coming out that are based on PlayStation and Xbox, or are Xbox and PlayStation titles, if they're going to be any better on PC or with AMD. We'll have to see about that. So there's a lot of things to consider for myself in this case. So that's why I'm gonna try to get myself my hands on an RTX 3070 tomorrow. Wish me luck in this case, I would say. And for you, as the average Joe that's, or I don't know, someone that wants to upgrade, if you have a 5700 XT from that's from AMD, of course, from last year, last generation, either way. I don't know if you need to upgrade. It depends. If you're also upgrading your screen size and your display resolution, if you're going to 4K in this case, maybe you do. I think you actually do. And you're going to get a big boost in performance. But like I said, again, this is only with the benchmarks that we've seen from AMD. Now, I think this video is like long enough, so I would like to take your questions in the video description, and now, not in the comment section, sorry. And imagine if that were still a thing, or I don't think it ever was a thing, but I'm thinking about replying with video comments on YouTube. That was great, and I think that would be a really nice thing that I wish I could still do. But either way, drop some comments in the comment section down below and ask me your questions. Do also remember that I have a Fiverr, so if you want me to build a PC for you, then I can do that. And if you just want to talk tech or have any questions, drop them either in the comment section or go and follow me on Twitter. Go visit our crowd website and our crowd Discord server. You're going to find a lot of people that are willing to help you, even for free in this case. So yeah, good luck with getting yourself a new AMD card, and let's keep this conversation going. I don't think I have anything else. My notes say 7 nanometer. Oh yeah, I know I wanted to end this, but still, I think those are very, very important. So I'm just gonna wrap it up around here. It's still the 7 nanometer process node that they're doing. They are doing direct ray tracing. So this is their this is an API version, so not a hardware version like AMD is doing with their RTX cards. And the benchmarks we've seen for their ray tracing performance for the new cards looked a bit worse than NVIDIA's offering by like 20%, if I remember correctly. That was in the Port Royal benchmark, and we don't know how this actually translates into actual gaming performance, so we're gonna have to wait for that. And also, please just note that ray tracing is not something that NVIDIA has invented. And I think Cortex has done a beautiful video explaining this for the average person that thinks just because NVIDIA has RTX, that doesn't stand for ray tracing, you know, like the X is not tracing or something like that. Either way, they didn't invent it. This is just pure math. So if you want to learn more about ray tracing, I'm gonna have to link to Cortex's video in the video description. Other than that, DirectX 12 support and Fidelity FX, where they're getting denoiser, variable shading, ambient occlusion, and super resolution, which I kind of guess this is something like their DLSS thing that NVIDIA is offering, so deep learning super sampling that NVIDIA is offering, which is amazing. That's another thing that I care about whenever I'm going to get my hands on a new graphics card. And yeah, smart access and 2 times the performance in 4K, and this seems pretty much like the next big thing, believe it or not. I can't wait for 8K because those new consoles, and including the RTX 3090, have taunted 8K, but we're still far off to getting to that. And we're not far off to the end of this video because I'm gonna have to stop it at this point. So thanks a lot, you guys, for watching. Do make sure to check out all the links in the video description. Like I said, visit Crowd, check me out on Twitter, do a lot of things. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for this video because that's really important. This has been Alex with the Red Elk, signing off. Bye.